larger department, Wisconsin, and it handles a whole bunch of things. And he'll be talking about the infrastructure, where it's at, what kinds of things we can be hoping for, and the different challenges that the department is facing in this day and age. Because frankly, uh, for most of the things, if it doesn't come in by road or by flight, it doesn't get here. So it's all part of that process. And today we're very pleased and honored to have a gentleman who is the superintendent of the State Patrol. I believe I've got the title right. Is that correct, sir? Okay. And I won't go into a great deal about his bio, but it is extremely impressive. He is he came up through the ranks and a decorated uh, member of the State Patrol. And I don't want to take too much of his time away by talking about him. I'd rather listen to what he has to say. So, Tony, thank you for joining us. And currently, sir, you are muted. As a reminder to everyone else, if you're not speaking, please do mute yourselves. And then we'll monitor the chats and let Tony know if there's somebody that has something to add or to, questions. And we'll take it from there. So thank you, sir. And you're on.
Good morning, sir, and thank you. And thank you to everyone at the Midvale Community Lutheran Church. I want to thank you all for inviting me to speak with you today. I'm looking forward to sharing with you a little bit about the Wisconsin State Patrol, member of the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. One of the unique things I can share with you about the State Patrol being part of the Wisconsin, or being part of the Department of Transportation, is that we are one of two, I think three states that has all of their law enforcement and everything with related to transportation under the DOT umbrella. And the State Patrol is a member of, like I said, the Department of Transportation here in Wisconsin. And just a little bit of background about myself. My name is Tony Burrell. As I mentioned, I'm the superintendent of the Wisconsin State Patrol. I've been with the patrol for 31 and a half years. All of my career in law enforcement has been with the Wisconsin State Patrol. It was a desire of mine to be in law enforcement as a young man, and I got the opportunity to join the patrol and joined the patrol in June or July of 1990. And as mentioned, I rose through the ranks, ultimately becoming the superintendent. I was appointed the superintendent by Governor Tony Evers on January of 2019, and for which I am very grateful and thankful and humble for. I take none of what I do in this position for granted, and the men and women of the Wisconsin State Patrol are dedicated men and women who put their lives on the line on the daily basis to make sure that members of the public, the general public, the motoring public, as well as visitors to this great state can go about their day and their lives freely without any issues. And how they do that is obviously through a number of things, through education, education enforcement as well. But we also get ourselves into the communities doing such things as this, talking about the patrol and discussing matters and issues related to traffic. And so what I'm going to do today is I just want to share with you my brief presentation with you this morning is I talk a little bit about the patrol, who we are, what we do, our division mission, our vision, our values, the organizational chart, use some items there, and also some of the roles and responsibilities. And then hopefully we'll leave some time for some questions and answers at the end. And certainly if you have questions along the way, I certainly will do my level best to answer those questions. So go. Just as I mentioned, just a little brief history about the State Patrol. The organization was started in 1939 by the Wisconsin State Legislature, which passed the statute creating the Motor Vehicle Department. We actually did start as the Division of Motor Vehicles, and many of you are familiar with the Division of Motor Vehicles today because that's where you go to get your driver's licenses, right? And it consisted of three divisions. The New Enforcement Division, which began with 46 inspectors, were tasked with enforcing state motor vehicle code and also regulations of the motor carriers, which are the large trucks that travel the roadways and particularly along the interstate. Um, Throughout the years, the authorized size of the State Patrol has increased. Present day strength is approximately 400 troopers and 112 inspectors. And I'll just share with you there that number, we're currently allotted 377 troopers due to a legislative change a number of years ago. We had to drop our numbers as well as a number of state agencies across the state due to budget. So we had to drop our number. We're allotted 377 troopers and 112 inspectors. So it's given our total sworn ranks of about 489. Unfortunately, we're not even there at full strength to this day. We're probably sitting at right close to about 415 to 430 troopers, and that's because of retirements that occur on a monthly basis. So through attrition, we're down to right around between 420 to 430 positions in the patrol. Again, history throughout the years, many changes have been made, but the patrol's primary goal has always been and will continue to be, as I mentioned before, public safety. Our mission, vision, and values. The State Patrol's vision is to strive for excellence in all that we do, to be the premier public safety agency in the state and in the nation. One of the things that we do, we over the past couple of years during this COVID and also some of the outbreaks that have occurred, we've been involved in many of the riots and some of the civil unrest that have occurred across the state. We've been involved in the Madison issues around the Capitol. We've also been involved in some of the civil unrest that occurred down in Kenosha last year after the Jacob Blake shooting. And we were also tasked with sending some personnel over to Minnesota to assist in Minneapolis after the Rodney King incident over in Minneapolis. So we did send some folks there. On a more national level, we've also sent personnel to various the Republican National Convention, as also with the Democratic National Convention. We've sent personnel to assist, and those were tasks we were pleased to do and happy to do on behalf of this great state and representing the state of Wisconsin. Some of our values: diversity, one of my big ones; honor, leadership, integrity, professionalism, character, innovation, compassion. These are all the things that make up what a good trooper or an inspector is in Wisconsin State Patrol. These are the values that we look for when we're recruiting for members to become members of the Wisconsin State Patrol. And again, diversity being the foremost for me, and because we want to have an agency that currently reflects the diversity and the diverse makeup of our great state of Wisconsin. Who are we and what do we do in WisDOT? As I'm before, we do a number of things. We do enforcement, we do education. The Wisconsin State Patrol enforces traffic laws. We assist motorists in need, inspect trucks, school buses. That's one of the things I don't know many of you folks may or may not know, but the Wisconsin State Patrol is tasked with inspecting every single school bus in the state of Wisconsin. Every single school bus that operates in Wisconsin, that transports your children, your grandchildren, your loved ones to and from school on the yellow buses, we inspect those buses every day and every year. We also inspect ambulances as well. And we also help the local law enforcement agencies during natural disasters, or as I mentioned before, civil disturbance. We also conduct highway interdiction. We know that drugs are a prevalent thing in this country and also in this state. We do those type of details to hopefully curb the amount of drug flow that's coming into the state of Wisconsin and into the communities, creating havoc there. We also, as I mentioned, we have our motor carrier program. Our state patrol inspectors, they oversee the management of the motor carrier safety in our weight facilities around the state. They inspect, they regulate, as I mentioned before, the motor carriers, which are semi trucks that travel up and down that transport the goods and services to and from stores. We inspect those, we weigh them to make sure that they are in compliance with all the state and federal DOT regulations for road and equipment service or safety. We also, as I mentioned, the school buses and ambulances, we do those as well. All the ambulances that are in service in the state patrol, again, we do inspect those as well. I don't know if you can see this organizational chart. It really has no relevance for you guys other than the show is just a breakdown of how the organization is set up. I am the superintendent of the state patrol. There is also a colonel, Colonel Tim Carnahan, who's my deputy superintendent. And then I have several bureaus. We have the Bureau of Field Operations and Specialized Services. We also have the Bureau of Transportation Safety and Technical Services, and also a Bureau of Engineering and Data Infrastructure. And we'll go into those here briefly and just kind of explain what their duties and responsibilities are within those bureaus. As mentioned, the Office of Superintendent, that is my office. Within that office, we have two primary units in there, and one of them being the Dignitary Protection Unit and our Office of Budget and Operations Support. As you can imagine, the Wisconsin State Patrol does a number of things. As I mentioned, we talk about traffic safety and all those other duties and responsibilities that we have. But one of them, the most, we think that is probably one of the most important one is also our Dignitary Protection Unit. And within the Dignitary Protection Unit, we take care of and securing the safety of the First Lady and the Governor of this great state. We also provide security protection for our Lieutenant Governor, Lieutenant Governor Barnes. And then we also have our Office of Budget and Operations Support. And that's basically the bean counters for our department. They're the ones that make sure that we're spending our money properly, that we are taking care of our personnel through payments of their salaries, and also any of our needs for equipment. They're the ones that oversee our budgets to make sure that we are in compliance with all state laws and regulations in terms of procurement, but also with respect to the items that we look to purchase for our folks in the field, like such as cars, our mobile radios that we use in our radios in our cars, our laptops that we use in our cars. We've come a long way from when I started with the patrol. We had lights in our cars, but none like what we have now and probably what you see. But we didn't also have, we had to handwrite our citations back in the day. So that created some challenges in that it had the officers, if you had to write multiple citations, it had you on the side of the road for a pretty lengthy amount of time, and that wasn't safe. So through technology, we're able to now, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but we're able now to do our citations and warnings through electronics, as well as our crash reporting, no longer having to do that manually. Again, the Office of Budget, they manage our operating budget, including setup, ongoing analysis, and preparation of formal budget reviews within the division. Our division of Bureau of Strategic and Initiatives and the Secretary's office. We work closely with the DOT Secretary, Craig Thompson, and making sure that our operations are sound and that, again, that we are meeting the needs of the citizens of this great state. Our Bureau of Field Operations, we have seven posts, but we have 5 regions within the state of Wisconsin. And they're broken down in the North Central, the Northeast, the Northwest, the Southeast, and the Southwest regions. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. If I apologize if you can't, but hopefully you can. We have 5 captains in those in those particular regions. And then we have 7 lieutenants who are their deputies in the regions to make sure that operations on the regional basis is being taken care of. And what they take care of is obviously the day-to-day operations of the State Patrol within their respective areas as it relates to all traffic related matters and so forth. Just some photos of some of the daily duties and responsibilities. On the left, you'll see we have a trooper who is just assisting a family from a crash scene. And on the bottom screen there, you'll see an individual providing traffic direction. And that particular photo is a photo of him directing traffic at one of the most recent major sporting events. And I believe that was a PGA event here in Wisconsin, either in Washington County at Erin Hills, or it was at Whistling Straits up in Kohler. I'm not certain. We have mobile field forces. As I mentioned before, we have sent groups out of state to assist at various events. As I mentioned before, we sent folks to the RNC in Cleveland back in 2016. We were also planning and preparing to assist at the DNC here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Unfortunately, as you all know, that got canceled as an in-person and went virtual due to the climate with COVID. We also have a specialized services section, and that specialized services section makes up our traffic reconstruction unit. It is also our K-9 unit. State Patrol has 15 K-9s. We also have our traffic management center, which is located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the intermodal station downtown. That traffic management center is utilized statewide. You probably see it often from your news broadcasters who are sharing with you any issues regarding traffic crashes that may be on your on the interstate system in and around the Beltline, particularly or in around Dane County. We also have the training academy, which is located at Fort McCoy. And as I mentioned before, our motor carrier folks, we have 16 motor carrier stations around the state. And we also have our motor carrier inspection unit. And those guys are especially tasked to go into businesses that have trucks in service in the state of Wisconsin. And again, they go in to make sure that they're doing their businesses here in the state in compliance with not only Wisconsin laws, but also within federal laws. And there are 3 captains that oversee the major. There's a major also, and 3 captains that oversee this the specific specialized services section. Here's a photograph of our traffic reconstruction unit, and just some photos of some scenes that they are called to ask to do duties at. They also get called to assist at a number of various shooting incidents that occur around the state. They will come out and map those scenes on behalf of the agency that is seeking our services, or in partnership with our sister agency, which is the Department of Criminal Investigations, housed under the Wisconsin of Justice. As I mentioned, our K-9 unit, these are just a few photos of our K-9s and some of the successes that they've had. We're very proud of our K-9 unit. In fact, we just onboarded 2 new K-9s as we had 2 K-9s. One of our K-9s passed away suddenly, and the other we had to retire due to age. So we just recently replaced those folks, or those 2 dogs, with 2 new ones, and they're just currently put into service as of last month. I mentioned the Traffic Management Center. This is a picture of it downtown. Many of you probably are familiar with it if you've ever been to Milwaukee, or if you've ever traveled through into Milwaukee vis-a-vis the Amtrak train and or on a Greyhound. That is where it is located. It is located inside of that intermodal station we call downtown in Milwaukee. As I mentioned, in the lower left corner, you'll see pictures of the various interstate systems that are running around the state. And you see a dispatcher in the lower left corner who is monitoring those systems and making sure that traffic is flowing freely and safely. They are set to receive calls for any emergency that may occur, and then they can dispatch our troopers and or inspectors accordingly. And then in the far right corner there, again, just more of an outlay from a much larger picture of our traffic management system and all the corridors in the state. Part of our specialized services unit is our air support unit, and we utilize our air support unit for a number of things. One of them obviously is for air enforcement, for speed enforcement and reckless driving. We also use them for reckless driving around semis. There was a special grant that we were provided from the Fed DOT to monitor reckless driving in and around semis. For a number of years, we've done that, and we've been successful in capturing vehicles that are operating in a reckless manner around semis along the interstate system. We utilize these aircraft, and we have 5 of them around the state, but we also use them for search and rescue missions around the state. We most recently did one in the Northwest, up in the Eau Claire region of the state to assist with a missing father, and we were successful in helping to locate that individual. Also, we use them, as I mentioned before, for natural disasters. So when there's flooding going on around the state, or we have fires that are going on around the state, we utilize these aircraft and our pilots to help monitor and send back information, providing surveillance photos of incidents and matters that need addressing, whether it be fire across the roadways or approaching residences, or when we have water flooding along the highway system or county roads around the state. We also have an honor guard, which is in our specialized unit, services unit, and our honor guard is renowned around the country. We do provide honor guard services for all of our fallen officers that have fallen in the line of duty, and we provide our honor guard services at major sporting events. We've been at basketball games, we've been at football games, and we also do our services at Brewer games in Milwaukee. Very proud of our unit, very distinct group of individuals dedicated to their craft. As I mentioned, these individuals are well trained and very committed. The downside, obviously, is the honor guard unit is poised to provide services. In the lower left-hand corner, as you can see, is a photograph of one of our fallen. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was of a photo of Trooper Trevor Casper, who lost his life in 2015. As I mentioned, remembering our fallen and our honor guard, these are the 7 individuals who've lost their lives in the line of duty and committed to the services of the state of Wisconsin. And we owe a debt of gratitude to each and every one of them for their service and their sacrifices, as well as their families. Most recent was the gentleman on the bottom right corner, Anthony Borostowski, was killed in the line of duty when he lost control of his police cruiser, attempting to make a traffic stop. Our Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program, or we call MCSAP, these are our motor carrier inspectors. Again, as I mentioned, they go around and also mobilely, but they also have the fixed facilities. As you can see in the 2 photographs on the right, this is a large bay area where we bring the semis in off the road, and there's a pit that they actually can walk underneath and do proper inspection of the brakes and all the other equipment for these vehicles. We have, as I mentioned, 16 facilities around the state. None of them are all as new as this one here. This is the newest one we have here that you see in the bottom right corner. And I believe that is up in the Northwest region, just south of Superior. But we have more coming online, and these facilities really do a great deal of service for our inspectors because it allows them to do their jobs as opposed to doing them in the parking lot in the inclement weather. They're able to take those vehicles off the road and pull them into bays where they can safely inspect them and properly make sure that all of the equipment.
Please stand by. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Applies. It looks like Tony has left us, but he'll be no doubt trying to get back on in just a few moments. Currently, I believe he's at home. I believe that's in the Apple Valley area, if I remember right. Well, we knew it, but we didn't convey it. Apologies. Next week, it will be in person. Do you have an example, Nancy? Oh, okay. When you log into Zoom, you have the privilege of changing your name. And so some folks, like for example, when Claudia and I are involved in Zooming and she's present, I include Claudia, and when she's not, I don't. And hi, Tony, welcome back. But you're muted, sir.
I do apologize for that technical. My laptop stopped running for some reason. Can everyone hear me? Just give me a thumbs up if you can. Great,
We hear
great.
you,
I
sir.
do apologize for that. I think where I was at was with the SWEFs, talking about our program there, motor carrier program. Let me just get things back to where we were. You gotta love technology, right? Okay, here we go. As I wrap on this part of it, our specialized services, we have our State Patrol Academy, as I mentioned before. It's located at located on Fort McCoy, which is in Sparta, Wisconsin. The cadets that come through the academy spend 22 weeks, they're actually now 26 weeks. When I came through, it was 22. Now, because of DOJ requirements for training, they're up to 26 weeks of training. They go through everything from firearms to defensive arrest tactics. They learn how to subject matter of arrest. They also get the criminal laws, state laws, some federal laws, search and seizure laws. They'll go through a multitude of different trainings, as well as they also get EVOC training, which is our course driving on the track. They learn how to pit maneuver, to safely pit a vehicle during a pursuit, to stop vehicles that are fleeing. As you can see in the photograph to the left there, that's the indoor range. And we also use that academy for annual in-service. So every year, our troopers and inspectors come back to the academy for annual in-service training. They spend at least 24 hours of their year coming up to the academy to get refresher training on various matters relating to anything related to work, as far as updated legal matters, also some diversity training that we're incorporating into the academy now. So there's a lot of things that we get done at the academy with our folks, and it's a great. There are 3 dorms on the facility, plus a fire indoor range, a cafeteria, as well as a number of meeting spaces on the base. Some of the Bureau responsibilities: our network of Bureau engineering and data infrastructure. That is the group that provides our engineering installation and technical maintenance for the statewide telecommunications, basically our radio system. We communicate on a statewide radio system, and the folks in our engineering folks, they are the ones that actually maintain and install that system within our cars, as well as the radio towers that are dispersed around the state. They also take care of equipment in our cruisers, such as radios, lights, and sirens, etc. And this is just a photograph of some of our folks in the engineering and data infrastructure working on our cars when we get them and installing equipment in the new vehicles. They wind up installing in the new vehicles as well as taking the out of the old ones. So we try and preserve and save and reutilize as much of the equipment going out of the old into the new, based on unless there's a design change with the vehicle manufacturer. Our Transportation Safety and Technical Services Bureau, which we affectionately call BOTS, it's a department-wide focus on safety programs. Some of you are familiar with those programs. You've probably seen some of them on the radio, heard some of them on the radio, or seen some of them on TV. Click It or Ticket. If you remember, Donald Driver used to do a number of those campaigns for us here in Wisconsin. That was all done through our Transportation Safety Services Bureau. This group also handles our chemical test section, which is for our OWI drivers. When we arrest an individual who has been arrested for operating while under the influence, we utilize chemical test equipment to determine their level of impairment, whether it be alcohol or some drugs. We submit many of the drug tests to our crime lab in Madison, but if it's a roadside or an arrest that goes to a jail, we take them for alcohol. We were able to do breath testing at those facilities, and these are the folks that actually take care of that and maintain that equipment. In addition, some of our equipment is we have what we call a mobile architecture and communications handling, which is we call MOC. MOC is a system that allows for our dispatchers and our troopers to monitor the whereabouts and the movements of our troopers in real time. So they're actually able to see in their cruisers where their partners are working in their areas and able to monitor them for calls for service. We also have crash software, as I mentioned before, traffic and criminal software we call TRACS. That has enabled us to now handle a number of things, but what it's most effectively has done for us is it allows us to now do our traffic crashes and also our traffic citations and enforcement at a much readily and more expediently, because this software is done and it eliminated us using written citations and warnings. These are just some pictures of those from our TRACS program. As I mentioned before, click it or ticket, drive sober, get pulled over, buckle up, phone down. These are just a number of the various campaigns that our Bureau of Transportation Services provides through the State Patrol. Those are many times grant funded through the feds, and they are the ones that disperse that, not only through the State Patrol, but these various click it or ticket or drive sober, get pulled over. We disperse those funds through various law enforcement and agencies around the state. So it's not only State Patrol that gets in on these programs, because we can't do it all ourselves. So a lot of these county agencies and municipal departments are also involved in these click it or ticket and or drive sober, get pulled over campaigns around the state. As I mentioned before, the mock, this is just an illustration. I don't know if you can actually see much of this, but it does show you some icons. The one on the very bottom in the center is just a number of the icons showing you various dots on the screen. They're just dots on the screen to you, but to us, this is where everyone is at, right? So we're able to actually, if you look to the left, this is a little picture of a detail over in the Sheboygan County area, and you can actually see a little bit more of where the roads are, as you can see them outlined and highlighted. And then you can also see the dots that represent our vehicles. In the ones that are looking as triangles are moving, the circles are the stationary vehicles. So again, it's a very useful tool. It helps us to, again, monitor where our folks are at all times and in real time. And we were able to just to send cars wherever service is needed by just looking at the map to see where the closest vehicle may be to an incident. So we're able to do that through our mock system. And we've had this mock system in place approximately 10 years now. So there's been a number of versions that we've upgraded to, but it's been a lifesaver for us, and it helps. And we have a number of different agencies across the state that are also on this system. So that picture that you see again in the center bottom, which shows a state map, that's an integration of number of State Patrol as well as some county and also some city law enforcement agencies that are on the mock system. And we have more and more coming onto the system each and every month. These are just some pictures of some of our folks, just showing some of our history. As you see in the center photograph of the State Patrol, that was a Rambler back in, I think that was a 1955. Don't quote me on that number, but I think that was a 55 Rambler. And then just some folks, just day-to-day pictures of individuals providing services for the state. Again, more pictures of history. Just a little tag and plug here. The State Patrol is now also hiring. We are just finished up our recruitment for our 67th recruit class. That class will start in January, first week of January, and hopefully they will all graduate the last week of June. They're looking at June 30th as a graduation date, provided we have no disruptions that may occur. But that is the end of my presentation, and feel free to answer any questions that you may have from your guests, and subject to any questions, that is my presentation.
It seems to me that you have a lot of responsibilities with a very small staff to cover 24 hours a day over all the counties in Wisconsin.
That is true. We are, just as a note, our number as a law enforcement agency, as a state law enforcement police agency, we are per capita, we're the smallest of all of the 50 states in the country for state police law enforcement agencies. There's approximately 5.3 million, I think 5.4, 5.3 million that are here in the state. And we are, right, as I mentioned, 400, we're capped. If we just say our max number, 489 per capita, we are the smallest for the number of folks that we have in this state per capita.
I have one question, maybe a bucket of worms, but is there any code or whatever you want to call it that truckers follow in their behavior on the interstate systems and everything?
Not really sure if there's a code, but I can say that I would say that there's 90, and I think the inspectors that encounter these folks, I think 90 to 95% of the truck drivers that we encounter on the road do it in a safe and proper manner. They operate their vehicles and their equipment in the manner in which they're required to. You obviously have a small fraction of that group that doesn't, that 5 to 10% of them that don't. And obviously, those are the ones that we try and target and focus our efforts on and through enforcement.
Thank you.
Great question.
This is Wendy, and for everyone, I work at the DOT, and I made the connection with Secretary Burrell to speak today. And I work in DBSI, and we recently toured the office in DeForest, and we
Yes.
talked with the women there that handle all your open records requests, and that was fascinating, the level of open records requests. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, on what
Sure,
kind of things you
sure.
do and the volume
Yes.
of it.
Yes, we receive a lot of open records requests, and that is nothing uncommon that we get open records requests from individuals. Primarily, we get them a lot through the media. The media is seeking information about a specific crash or an arrest that was made, so they do so through open records requests. And when those requests do come into our offices, and they typically will come into the various headquarters, as Wendy mentioned, like the DeForest or our Eau Claire post, or Waukesha or Fond du Lac or Wausau. And when they come in, the office staff, the folks that handle open records requests, we have individuals who are actually trained to handle those requests. And we probably receive on average, I would say about 100 of those type of requests on a monthly basis. And that's including all of our regions on the state. Primarily those, as I mentioned, come from the media seeking information on a specific arrest or a crash investigation that we're working, or if it's a death investigation from a crash, or some sort of information that they're seeking. Great question.
Mike, while we're going to the other one, can you talk just a little bit more about the reconstruction? I find that a fascinating idea.
Yes, our traffic reconstruction unit is a unique unit, and it's one that it's not readily able to get into. You actually have to have a desire, because there's a lot of math involved in our traffic reconstruction unit, because of the complexities of crashes and a crash analysis. You're dealing with vehicle dynamics, human dynamics within the vehicle. We also use computer software that is going to help them and aid them in determining positions of a vehicle during a particular crash event, whether it's vaulting, rolling, or all of those similar things. And they utilize that. So you have to have a lot of background in math, and you've got to test to get into it. And once you're able to test, there's actually what they have, an accreditation. That's a national accreditation from all law enforcement across the country. So everyone has to go through, who wants to be a reconstructionist must go through that reconstructionist accreditation. And once, there's 2 phases to that test, and not everyone passes both phases. Most will pass phase 1, but phase 2 is the most difficult one. And when they do pass it, I can tell you there's a lot of elation for those individuals, because they know that they've met the challenge of what it needs to be a traffic reconstructionist, and their work will stand in courts, not only here in Wisconsin, but wherever they're called to testify as traffic experts.
Thank you so much for your presentation, even though you're far away and I can barely see you. But you've done a wonderful job of presenting. And I would want to follow up that the range of things that the State Patrol is involved in is so extensive that I think the state as a whole, its residents need to understand better what that is. So the
Yes.
question I'm going to ask is this. I just came from the NAMI 40th anniversary conference down at Pewaukee. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and there's one in Wisconsin. So there is this training program for enforcement people in particular called CIT, or Crisis Intervention.
Training.
So I'm just curious the extent to which you have knowledge of that, the extent to which you are using it or may be, and if so, in what circumstances? Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful question. Yes, we do use CIT in our training. We provide that training at our academy, and our cadets get a block of that instruction as they come through. And we also incorporate that in part of our annual in-service trainings. As I mentioned before, when our troopers and inspectors come back for in-service, we try to provide update training on CIT. And those instances in which we use those are obviously during critical incidences when we're dealing with individuals that have mental illness, and we're trying to assist them in terms of getting them the assistance necessary that they need. But it helps our officers also to better understand mental illness and the challenges that folks have out there, and how they approach individuals. And take that one step further. We train our officers to become trainers of the CIT. So we have individuals that will go around and train and teach that as well.
There's also a chat here from one of the individuals, and I'll just read it to you, sir. The Highway Patrol does much more than giving out speeding tickets. What percentage are female? And the follow-up is, he also adds that I know of a patrol officer from another state who got PTSD, as a result of way too much responsibility covering a large territory. When he expressed the need for treatment, he was not supported and in fact was terminated. And this sort of relates to Nancy's question. What does Wisconsin do to support trauma healing for patrol officers and prevent burnout?
Well, if you allow me, I'll answer the latter question first. We have within the State Patrol, we have our own internal program for dealing with our officers, and we do offer services through our Human Resources Department that is aimed at assisting with our officers that have those type of challenges. We do provide that service for our officers, and we have a program, and it's geared. We have a number of programs actually, and one of them we do through, as I mentioned, HR, but we also have an internal program within the department, and that allows our officers to meet individually. We have a chaplain program and other programs that allow our officers to outreach through individuals on a confidential basis to deal with issues and challenges that they may be having. And so we do support our officers through that mechanism, and we're glad that we're doing it because it is a challenge across the nation with law enforcement officers who have taken their own lives due to the challenges of law enforcement. And we're not as I'll say, we're not immune to that. We've had an officer who took his own life a number of years ago due to some of the challenges. So we do take that very seriously, and we're glad that we've incorporated this program within the mix. And we're seeing some benefits and the rewards of it because and I don't know names or numbers, obviously, but the feedback that I'm getting back up through the chain of command is that the services that we're providing internally are helping because our officers are utilizing them, and that's a great thing. The second part of your question, which was the number of female officers, as a state law enforcement agency, we are on, I think right now we're right about 7%. If I had to give you an exact number of female officers on the patrol, I would have to put that number between 20 to 25 of our sworn that are law enforcement on the patrol. But we're right now at, based on our size, we're approximately 7% of the national state law enforcement across the country. So we can do better. Obviously, we'd love to do better. We want to do better. This last class that did graduate, there was one female in the class, but in previous classes, we typically will find our numbers to be in the area of about 2 to 3. And we would love to get that number up to around 5 to 10, if not more. But as you can imagine, the challenges we're facing across the country, and not only just in this state, with recruitment due to the challenges going on, we do everything we can uniquely to try and attract the most qualified individuals into this profession. And the females are one of those that is one of our biggest challenges, but we are up to the challenge. I'll say this, one of our captains, who is Captain Ann Maxon down in the Southeast, she runs the Southeast region, Waukesha, which is seven counties in that area, which incorporates Waukesha, Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha, one of the busiest ones in the state. And she's in charge of that region. She's doing a phenomenal job. And I couldn't speak more highly of her as an individual, but as a leader of women in law enforcement. She's a prime example of who we want and who we're looking for in this profession, because she sets the example, and she is the example for women in law enforcement. And my hat's off to Ann for the great job that she's doing for us.
Hi, Tony. Janet Sabatsky again.
Hey,
When I
Janet.
was working for the administrators and directors of the patrol many years ago, there were 2 officers that protected the governor and drove him. I also got calls from the governor's office saying the governor was going to fly to Eau Claire. Could we get a trooper out there to pick him up and take him to a meeting? Now I understand there's a big group of officers, and especially since Walker's administration. How many officers do you now have protecting the executives of Wisconsin?
Currently, our number is at 8 within the Dignitary Protection Unit. And simply that is because of, as you remember, Janet, many, many years ago, they had 2 guys. Well, there was a lot of burnout there. There was a lot of overtime there. So we expanded that unit to kind of bring down the amount of overtime and also burnout that comes with that position. Because as you well know, the governor and the first lady of this state are very important people, and their movements are subject to anything and anywhere. And sometimes it's out of state travel. So we expanded that so that we can rotate individuals through to assist the workload. A lot of that workload goes into preparation and planning. So when they know the governor or first lady's calendar, there's an advance group that goes out and advances the event or the location that they're going to in advance of their arrival. And sometimes that may be a day ahead to do the advance work so that they can understand the layout of the place, any challenges for security and safety of the first lady or the governor. And so that is why we've expanded our numbers so that we can do that more effectively and efficiently and avoid the burnout that comes with that position. Thank you.
Yes, I understand that. That's good, because the 2 that I knew that were the drivers for the governor, they were working all the time and they weren't home with their families. So
Yes.
thanks for doing this. And
Yes.
thank you for being our administrator of the State Patrol.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
What are the requirements for someone to become a state patrol officer?
Well, right now, the requirement is that they have to have 60 college credits. However, with the State Patrol, we don't require that 60 college credits coming in. You can have it, that's great, but the DOJ does require you have 60 college credits. So what we've done over the past few years is we've allowed individuals to come through our academy, graduate, and then when they graduate, they have up to 5 years to get their 60 college credits. And I can honestly say that we've not had to terminate anyone as of yet, but that is a great possibility simply because the 60 college credits is a minimum that the Wisconsin DOJ requires an individual who is going to be a certified law enforcement officer must have. Again, we allow them to up to 5 years to get the 60 college credits, and we knock on wood, we've been lucky enough that folks coming in mostly have gotten the 60 college credits. We're also as a pending to the recruitment side of things, we do a lot of recruiting for our military folks. We know that some of our returning military have a lot of the background and skills necessary to come in and be an effective law enforcement officer. But we're also reaching out to a lot of the college and universities around the country, and as well here in our own state, to attract quality individuals, male and female, that who have a desire to, through whether they're in the criminal justice degree program, who may have an interest in law enforcement. And we seek those individuals out at through various job fairs, also recruiting opportunities that we have at open houses that we host at our own facilities around the state.
One of the new technologies that we are seeing in our world are drones. Is that something that your department uses at all, or how do you see that as being helpful or hurtful?
Yes, very good question. We have a number of drones. In fact, our traffic reconstruction unit is where those units are housed. As I mentioned before, our traffic reconstruction guys do a phenomenal job, and these drones aid them in the surveilling of the crash scenes. They're able to get out and conduct crash measurements using those drones. And again, it's an efficient and effective way to get out there safely and collect the data information needed of a scene, whether it be measurements and or photographs, to help us to quickly clear those traffic scenes up so that we can keep traffic moving along. So yes, we have 9 of those units. We have 9 of them, and they're all of our pilots, drone pilots, are certified to fly them here in the state. The Department of Transportation also has a number of them, but the State Patrol has 9 right now. Thank you for that question.
Is there any other questions? Sir, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. We are kind of running up. Whoa, wait a minute. There's a chat coming in. Maybe. Hang on. Somebody appreciating the fact that you did a very interesting forum, sir. So it's not just me making the statement.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the time and opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do for you folks and the citizens of this great state. And it's an honor to be, as I mentioned before, an honor to be in this position as the superintendent, one that I do not take lightly. And I cherish the men and women of the department that work for me. And they are very dedicated individuals to making sure that you folks are safe in your homes and you're able to move about, as I mentioned before, safely around the state.
Thank you again. Your comments are obviously heartfelt. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.